A city of gold once flourished in the heart of a barren desert. How did ancient civilizations create such lush gardens and flowing fountains in the world's driest places? This video reveals the engineering secrets of the advanced water systems that sustained empires for thousands of years. You will discover how forgotten technologies from Persia to India mastered the desert, and you will learn how these ancient blueprints can help solve our modern water crises. We will explore how hidden underground rivers were engineered by hand, and why magnificent temples were built around deep wells. What do you believe is the most important lesson we can learn from the past about living with our environment? A vibrant green island of date palms and flowering gardens stands in sharp relief against a sea of golden sand. This is the desert's great paradox, a place where life thrives against all odds. How did entire civilizations build sprawling cities and vast agricultural empires in these least likely of places? They faced a world defined by water scarcity, where the sun's heat could evaporate a shallow pool in hours and rain might not fall for years. The water table, the hidden source of life below, constantly retreated further from reach. This was not a passive existence but an active, relentless battle for survival. Yet these communities did more than just endure. They observed their environment with incredible precision, learning to read the land like a map. They understood where the rare rains would flow, how the wind shaped the dunes, and where the earth itself held secrets of moisture. This deep, generational knowledge of hydrology, the movement of water, became their most powerful tool. Their brilliant solutions did not spring from a void but from this fundamental struggle, a testament to the timeless truth that our greatest inventions are often born from our most pressing needs. These civilizations did not rely on a single miracle technology. Their genius lay in a sophisticated hydraulic toolkit, a collection of complementary methods perfectly tailored to their harsh environments. Picture a master keyring where each key was designed to unlock water from a different hidden source. One key might access a deep mountain aquifer, while another could channel a seasonal river, and a third might even harvest the scant moisture from the morning dew. The first tool in this kit was the simplest yet most vital: gravity itself. Engineers masterfully designed networks of open channels and gentle slopes, allowing the relentless pull of the earth to guide water for miles without any need for pumps or external power. This was water moving with a quiet, purposeful intent, flowing from the highlands down to the thirsty fields and cities below. But what happened when the water needed to travel across vast, open deserts where the sun would greedily drink it up? This is where a second, more brilliant key came into play: the subterranean tunnel. These hidden passages, carved deep beneath the burning sands, acted as protected arteries, shielding precious water from evaporation and contamination. They tapped into groundwater and transported it invisibly, a secret lifeblood running underfoot. To store this hard-won resource, they developed vast, waterproof cisterns and reservoirs, often lined with lime plaster to prevent seepage. These were not just simple holes in the ground but complex, managed systems, and to protect their stored water, they employed clever evaporation reduction techniques, sometimes using floating covers or building structures that promoted cooling shade. It was this holistic, multi-source approach that created truly resilient networks. If a drought dried up one source, another could still flow. This was an ancient form of risk management, a concept far ahead of its time that transformed isolated water sources into a robust, life-sustaining grid. Deep beneath the sun-baked plains of ancient Persia, a hidden river flows in utter darkness. This is not a natural watercourse but a masterpiece of human engineering, a Kanat. Its construction began high in the mountains, where workers identified a water-rich aquifer. From this mother well, they began an almost impossible task, digging a gently sloping tunnel back toward their settlement, sometimes for dozens of miles. But how do you dig a straight, sloped tunnel for such a distance without modern tools? The answer lies in a line of vertical shafts, sunk from the surface down to the tunnel level at regular intervals. These shafts provided air, allowed for the removal of excavated material, and most brilliantly, served as surveying points. Using simple water levels, ancient engineers ensured their underground channel maintained the perfect, gentle decline, a drop of just 1 meter for every 1,000 meters of length, allowing gravity to do all the work without the water flowing too fast and eroding the tunnel. The result was nothing short of miraculous. At the tunnel's end, the water would emerge at the surface, a steady, cool stream in the middle of the desert. Because it traveled underground, it was completely protected from the evaporating sun and dusty winds, delivering clean, fresh water directly to the fields and the city. This was not a sporadic gift from the rain, but a controlled, dependable source that flowed day and night, summer and winter. The social impact was profound. The shared labor of maintaining the Kanat forged powerful community bonds, and the precise allocation of its water gave rise to some of history's earliest and most sophisticated water laws. Can you envision the quiet confidence of a civilization that knew, no matter how fierce the summer heat, a river they had built with their own hands was always flowing silently beneath their feet, sustaining their world? The mother well was the beating heart of the entire system, a deep shaft sunk until its base plunged into the hidden, life-giving water table. From this single point of origin, the true work began. Teams of skilled diggers, known as mukanis, would begin carving the main artery of the Kanat, the underground tunnel itself. They worked in shifts, in near-total darkness and stifling conditions, moving backward from the mother well toward their distant destination. The vertical shafts that dotted the desert surface above them were not just holes in the ground. They were lifelines. Each one provided a crucial draft of fresh air to the workers below and served as a chute to lift out basket after basket of excavated earth and rock. But their most brilliant function was as a celestial guide. By looking down these shafts and using simple but effective tools like water levels or weighted strings, the ancient engineers could ensure their tunnel maintained a perfect, almost imperceptible slope. This precise gradient was the system's silent engine. It was just steep enough to let gravity pull the water along at a steady, gentle pace, yet shallow enough to prevent the current from gaining destructive speed and scouring away the tunnel walls. After its long, dark journey, the water would finally emerge into the sunlight at the tunnel's mouth, a place known as the outlet. Here, the miracle was realized. A constant, reliable stream would flow, its temperature cooled by the Earth's embrace and its purity protected from the dust and evaporation of the surface world. This water was then channeled through open canals, first quenching the thirst of lush gardens and fields, and then flowing onward to public fountains and cisterns at the very center of community life. The Kanat did not just bring water, it created the oasis, a hub of civilization that could not have existed otherwise, all born from a river engineered to run in reverse, from the deep earth up into the waiting hands of humanity. This intricate network of tunnels and wells could not survive on engineering alone. It required a living, breathing social engine to function. The Kanat was, at its core, a powerful social contract written in water and earth. Constructing and maintaining these subterranean rivers demanded the coordinated labor of entire villages, a shared investment in survival that forged unbreakable community bonds. At the heart of this effort were the mukani, the well diggers. These were not simple laborers, but highly skilled engineers of the underworld, respected for their courage and their deep, almost intuitive understanding of the Earth's hidden hydrology. Their knowledge was a precious heirloom, passed meticulously from one generation to the next, ensuring that the secrets of finding water and stabilizing tunnels would never be lost. With such a vital resource flowing from a single source, the question of fairness was paramount. How could water be shared so that every family received its due? The answer was the evolution of some of history's most sophisticated and precise water laws. Time was literally divided into shares. A farmer might own the right to the entire flow for one specific hour on a certain day of the week, a portion of time measured by ancient water clocks. This created a transparent and equitable system where everyone's rights were clear, and the community itself became the guardian of the resource. Disputes were settled by councils of elders, and the maintenance of the channels was a shared responsibility. This collective endeavor transformed water management from a mere technical task into the very pillar of civic life. The sustainability of the Kanat was intrinsically linked to the health and cooperation of the society it served. A divided community could not maintain the tunnels, and a neglected Kanat would mean doom for all. Their survival was a lesson in interdependence, proving that the most advanced system is only as resilient as the people who uphold it. While the Kanat was a hidden river flowing in darkness, another civilization approached the same challenge with breathtaking visibility. In the arid landscapes of the Indian subcontinent, communities did not just hide their water source, they built glorious monuments around it. These are the stepwells or bayolis, vast inverted pyramids carved down into the earth. Imagine a grand staircase leading not up to a palace, but down into the very heart of the ground, each step descending past ornate pillars and sculpted walls until it finally meets the shimmering surface of a hidden pool. This was architecture in service of hydrology, a stunning marriage of art and survival. The design was profoundly intelligent. As the seasons turned and the water table dropped during long dry periods, the steps simply allowed people to walk down to the new water level. The well never ran dry from the top, it just revealed a longer staircase. Simultaneously, the sheer depth and stone mass of the structure created a permanently cool, shaded microclimate, drastically reducing the loss of water to the relentless sun. But these structures were far more than just clever reservoirs. They evolved into the living rooms of the community. In the blistering afternoon heat, the temperature at the bottom could be 20 degrees cooler than at the surface, making the bayoli a natural refuge. Travelers rested here, merchants met, and children's laughter echoed off the carved figures of deities and mythological scenes that adorned the walls. Many stepwells contained small, quiet temples, transforming the act of drawing water into a spiritual ritual. The water itself was considered sacred, a gift from the earth to be approached with reverence. How different this is from our modern relationship with a simple tap. For them, collecting water was not an isolated chore, but a social and ceremonial journey into a cool, beautiful, and deeply peaceful underworld. It was a daily reminder that the most vital resource was also something to be celebrated and honored. The descent into a stepwell was a journey of transformation. With every step down, the blazing heat of the desert gave way to a profound and enveloping coolness, and the noisy world above faded into a quiet echo. This was not merely a walk to collect water, it was a physical pilgrimage into the earth, a symbolic act of going deep within oneself to seek both physical and spiritual nourishment. These structures were frequently dedicated to deities, their walls adorned with intricate carvings of gods and goddesses, transforming the entire well into a vast, open-air temple. The water at the bottom was not just H2O, it was considered a sacred offering, a liquid manifestation of divine blessing. Throughout the year, these subterranean courtyards hosted vibrant festivals and quiet rituals, their acoustics perfect for chanting and celebration. For the women who undertook the daily task of water collection, the stepwell was far more than a utility. It was the heart of their social world. While filling their pots, they exchanged news, shared wisdom, and forged the bonds that held the community together. In this unique space, the line between chore and ceremony completely vanished. The practical act of sustaining life and the profound need for spiritual connection became one and the same. The stepwell stood as a powerful testament to a culture that refused to separate the mundane from the magical, understanding that survival itself could be an act of reverence. The Nabateans did not simply inhabit their desert home, they performed a kind of magic with it. In the heart of a hyper-arid canyon, they built the rose-red city of Petra, a metropolis that should not have been possible. Their secret was not in finding a single great water source, but in becoming masters of capture, harvesting water from the one event that defined their climate, the sudden, violent flash flood. When the rare but torrential rains fell on the surrounding plateau, water would cascade through the narrow Sick, the main gorge leading to the city, with enough force to sweep away anything in its path. Instead of fearing this deluge, the Nabateans saw it as their greatest resource. They engineered the very rock itself to work for them. They carved channels along the canyon walls, diverting the floodwaters away from the main passage. They built sophisticated dams to slow the water's momentum and channel it into a network of underground cisterns. The entire city became a massive, sloping catchment system. They even coated cliff faces and natural rock basins with a special, impermeable plaster to prevent precious droplets from seeping back into the stone. The scale of their storage was staggering. They could capture and hold millions of gallons of water from a single storm event, enough to sustain a population of tens of thousands through years of drought. This hydrological brilliance was the true foundation of their wealth. Petra was not just a city, it was a vital oasis on the incense trade routes, a place where caravans traveling for months across barren deserts could finally water their camels and replenish their supplies. The kingdom's power was not held in its temples alone, but in the silent, cool depths of its reservoirs. How did a civilization flourish in such an unforgiving landscape? They understood that in the desert, water is not a gentle gift from the sky, but a fierce force that must be invited, guided, and respectfully contained. This mastery of flash floods reveals a deeper truth about the Nabateans. They possessed a profound, almost intuitive understanding of their terrain, reading the desert's hydrology like a map of invisible forces. Their engineers did not fight the raw power of a flash flood, but instead choreographed its movement. The first step was to tame the torrent. Diversion dams, strategically placed in narrow canyons, would intercept the raging water, redirecting its destructive energy away from the city center and into channels they had carved for it. Silt traps, clever depressions in the rock, would then slow the water's momentum, allowing it to drop its heavy load of sand and debris. This process was vital, transforming a muddy, abrasive deluge into a clear, manageable flow ready for storage and use. The true genius, however, lay in the distribution. An intricate network of ceramic pipes, durable and leak-resistant, ran alongside rock-cut channels that snaked through the very foundations of Petra. This dual system acted like the city's circulatory system, delivering water with surgical precision. It flowed to the royal palaces, sustaining lush hanging gardens that defied the desert. It supplied public baths, offering a luxury of cleanliness. It fed countless cisterns, ensuring that even the most humble homes had access to this lifeblood. The entire city operated on a gravity-fed principle, with channels carved at meticulously calculated slopes to guide the water exactly where it was needed. Can you grasp the level of foresight this required? Every rare downpour was an event to be captured, filtered, and stored for the long, dry years ahead. They turned the desert's most violent and unpredictable tantrum into its most reliable provider, a testament to a civilization that did not merely survive its environment, but learned to conduct its very rhythm. The true test of any ancient technology is not just its brilliance, but its endurance. In the sun-scorched mountains and valleys of Oman, a hydraulic network known as the Falaj continues to flow exactly as it has for more than 2,000 years. It is a living river of time, its water rights and rhythms dictated by rules older than many modern nations. Like the Persian Kanat, a Falaj is a channel system, often tapping into a mountain aquifer and guiding the water through a combination of underground tunnels and open-air canals to villages and farms below. But what makes the Omani system a true marvel is not merely its engineering, but the profound social contract that governs every drop. The water is allocated with meticulous precision, measured not in volume but in time. A farmer's share might be the full flow of the channel for a specific period, say 2 hours every 8 days. This time is measured by the ancient position of the sun, using carefully calibrated sundials, or by the steady drip of a water clock. A designated guardian, the wakil, oversees this sacred distribution, ensuring that every user, from the largest landowner to the smallest garden plot, receives their fair and predetermined share. This is not a system born from scarcity and conflict, but from a deep-seated cultural understanding that water is a communal trust. The sustainability of the Falaj is woven directly into this unbreakable code of equity. For a community to survive here, cooperation was not just a virtue, it was a necessity. This intricate balance between human need and natural resource has earned many of these Falaj systems a designation as a UNESCO World Heritage Site. They are not frozen relics in a museum, but the still-beating heart of Omani agriculture and village life. To stand beside a Falaj today is to witness a conversation that began millennia ago, a continuous, flowing dialogue between a people and their parched land, proving that the most advanced system is one that can truly last. The precise measurement of water was a sacred science in itself. The timing of a farmer's share was not left to chance or a simple glance at a clock. It was a ritual governed by the heavens. A designated sundial, a carefully carved stone placed in a specific location, would cast its shadow across marked lines, its slow progress dictating the exact moment one family's water right ended and another's began. Under the cover of night, a water clock, a calibrated bowl with a small hole, would measure the passage of time by its steady, sinking drip. This was time made liquid, a tangible flow connecting celestial motion to earthly survival. Overseeing this entire process was the Wali al-Falaj, the water master. This individual was far more than an administrator. He was a trusted judge, a technical expert, and the guardian of the community's covenant with its most vital resource. His authority was absolute, but it was an authority granted by the people and bound by ancient customary law. When disputes arose over a missed minute or a blocked channel, they were not settled in distant courts. They were resolved by community councils of elders who would weigh the evidence against traditions passed down through countless generations. This system created a powerful social equilibrium. No single individual, no matter how wealthy or powerful, could hoard the water for long. The system's design made it structurally equitable. This ensured that the entire community, from the largest landowner to the family with the smallest garden, had a guaranteed stake in the system's health. The sustainability of the phallage was not just an engineering achievement, it was a legal and moral one. It proved that a resource could be managed not for short-term gain, but for the benefit of generations yet unborn, all because a society chose to build its laws around the fundamental principle of shared destiny. The Roman Empire expanded far beyond its rainy European heartland, pushing its legions into the sun-baked deserts of North Africa and the Middle East. To sustain these distant outposts, Roman engineers faced a monumental challenge, transporting vast quantities of water across some of the driest landscapes on Earth. Their solution was the aqueduct, but not merely the graceful stone bridges we often picture. In the desert, these systems became complex masterworks of efficiency and adaptation. They employed massive, sealed lead pipes that could withstand immense pressure, and they used the principle of the siphon to force water across deep valleys and up over low hills. To shield their precious cargo from the evaporating sun, they built long stretches of covered channels, ensuring that every possible drop reached its destination. This was hydraulic engineering on an imperial scale, a declaration that Roman order would prevail even when nature seemed most opposed. Yet for all their power, the Romans were often pragmatists. When they encountered existing qanat systems, they did not dismantle them. Instead, they frequently connected these ancient Persian tunnels into their own networks, boosting the flow to their new cities and fortresses. This fusion of local wisdom with imperial ambition created hybrid systems of incredible resilience. The water that filled the public baths of a desert garrison and irrigated its fields was a testament to a simple, powerful idea that even the greatest empire could learn from the conquered, and that the secret to mastering the desert was to blend innovation with respect for the knowledge already etched into the land. But the true mastery of Roman water systems was revealed not in the aqueducts themselves, but in what happened once the water reached the city. Imagine a network of underground holding tanks, vast caverns of water known as cisterns. These were not simple pools, but engineering marvels in their own right, often carved deep into bedrock and sealed with multiple layers of waterproof Roman concrete. Their purpose was twofold: to create an immense strategic reserve that could sustain the population for months if an aqueduct was damaged, and to protect millions of gallons of water from the evaporating desert sun and from contamination. This was water banking on an imperial scale. From these cisterns, the water flowed into the heart of the distribution network, a system of towers and basins called casella. Think of a casella as a sophisticated water routing station. Here, the main flow was divided with incredible precision. One pipe might lead directly to a public bath complex, requiring a massive, constant supply. Another, smaller channel would feed a neighborhood fountain, providing fresh drinking water for all. Yet another line, controlled by a regulated valve, could supply a private villa or a commercial bakery. This hierarchical system ensured that water pressure was maintained throughout the city, a concept far ahead of its time. The public fountains, flowing day and night, were the cornerstone of public health and social life, while the baths represented both hygiene and civic luxury. This comprehensive approach, from mountain source to household tap, created a resilient urban infrastructure that could support populations of hundreds of thousands in places where nature offered little. It was a complete philosophy of water management, treating it not just as a resource to be transported, but as a utility to be stored, regulated, and guaranteed for the stability of an entire civilization. Far from the open deserts, in the dense jungles of Mesoamerica, the Maya faced a water paradox all their own. Their world was built upon a foundation of porous limestone, a sponge-like rock that allowed precious rainwater to vanish instantly into a vast, hidden underworld. Above ground, rivers were almost non-existent. Their survival depended on accessing the water that had disappeared beneath their feet, and nature had provided the perfect doorway, the cenote. These were not simple ponds, but colossal sinkholes formed over millennia where cave ceilings had collapsed, revealing deep, crystalline pools of groundwater below. For the Maya, these were far more than just water sources. They were sacred portals to Xibalba, the realm of the gods and ancestors. A city's very existence was dictated by its proximity to a cenote. The great metropolis of Chichen Itza, for instance, derived its power and its name from the sacred cenote that lay at its heart, a natural well that served as both its physical and spiritual reservoir. To approach its edge was to stand at the threshold between worlds, where the act of drawing water was intertwined with prayer and ritual offerings. The water itself was considered a divine gift, a liquid connection to the powers that governed life and death. But their ingenuity did not stop at venerating these natural wells. The Maya became masters of capture on the surface as well. They engineered elaborate canal systems to channel runoff during the heavy rainy seasons, directing the flow into large, human-made reservoirs known as aqueducts. These were carefully plastered to prevent seepage, creating vital reserves that would see the community through the long, dry months. This dual strategy, a seamless blend of the spiritual and the practical, transformed a landscape designed to hide water into one that could sustain magnificent, populous cities. It was an adaptation that honored the mysteries of the earth while simultaneously harnessing them for life. The Maya saw water not as a resource to be managed, but as a divine conversation. Every raindrop was a blessing from Chok, the long-nosed god of storms, whose roars were the thunder and whose tears were the life-giving downpours. This was a world where engineering and prayer were inseparable. The magnificent cenotes were not merely water sources, they were portals to the underworld, the dwelling place of powerful deities and ancestors. To ensure the rains would come, the Maya conducted solemn ceremonies at the edge of these deep pools, offering precious objects from finely crafted jade to objects of gold as gifts to appease Chok. It was a sacred exchange, a plea for balance between the world above and the world below. The very layout of their cities was a physical prayer, an echo of the cosmos written in stone and water. Plazas and temple complexes were often positioned to channel rainfall into reservoirs, while major structures were aligned with celestial events like the equinoxes, linking the movement of the stars to the cycle of water on Earth. They believed that by honoring the gods through precise hydrological management, they could influence the weather itself. Maintaining a canal or cleansing a reservoir was therefore an act of profound piety, a communal duty performed with the same reverence as a temple ritual. Can you sense the profound responsibility they must have felt? Their survival depended on this delicate balance of practical action and spiritual devotion, proving that for them, the most advanced water system was one that flowed in harmony with the heavens. The same principle that gave life to Persia and Petra also unlocked the greatest trade network of the ancient world. Along the Silk Road, where desert stretched for 1,000 miles between empires, survival depended on a hidden river called the Kharez. In the vast, arid expanses of Xinjiang, Chinese engineers constructed these subterranean channels, tapping into the glacial meltwater flowing from the mighty Tianshan and Kunlun mountains. The system was a marvel of precise calculation. A mother well was dug deep into an alluvial fan at the base of the mountains where the water table was highest. From there, a gently sloping tunnel, marked by a line of vertical ventilation shafts, was carved through the earth for dozens of miles, all to deliver a steady, cool stream directly to an oasis town. This was not just a local water source, it was a strategic national project. The Chinese state understood a fundamental truth: controlling the water meant controlling the Silk Road itself. Without these hidden lifelines, the caravans laden with silk, spices, and gems would have vanished into the dunes, their journey impossible. The Kharez created the oases that became bustling hubs of commerce and cultural exchange. A traveler from the Mediterranean could rest in a town like Turpan, its fields lush with grapes and melons, drink from a public fountain filled with Kharez water, and never know that the entire settlement was engineered from the ground up. The flow of goods, religions, and technologies across continents was made possible by this silent, underground river. It was the unseen infrastructure upon which the global exchange of ideas was built, a testament to how the mastery of a single, vital resource can shape the destiny of human civilization. A steady stream of water transformed barren land into a marketplace of nations. This was the true economics of the Kharez, where every drop had a direct and measurable value in silver and silk. The oasis towns were not just rest stops, they were economic powerhouses fueled by this underground river. With a guaranteed water supply, local farmers could cultivate vast fields of grains, fruits, and vegetables, not merely for their own survival, but to feed the endless procession of merchants and their thousands of camels. This provisioning service alone generated immense local wealth, turning a desert crossroads into a mandatory and profitable destination. But the Kharez enabled far more than just agriculture. This reliable hydraulic power supported entire manufacturing sectors. Abundant water meant local artisans could establish workshops for dyeing textiles, firing pottery, and tanning leather. These were not simple crafts for local use, but goods of high value and low weight, perfectly suited for the caravan trade. A piece of fine cloth woven in an oasis town could be carried for 1,000 miles and sold for a fortune in a distant capital. The wealth that flowed from this commerce did not simply vanish into the sand. It was reinvested into the very fabric of the oasis, funding the construction of grand caravanserais, ornate mosques, and bustling public squares. The architectural splendor of these cities, rising like mirages from the desert, was a direct result of the economic engine humming silently beneath them. The Kharez was the foundational investment that made every other enterprise possible, proving that the most vital piece of infrastructure was not a road or a stable, but the invisible, reliable flow of water that made all other commerce conceivable. The desert sun is a relentless thief, constantly stealing moisture back into the sky. For ancient civilizations, losing water to evaporation was not an inconvenience. It was a direct threat to their survival, and they fought this invisible battle with remarkable creativity. They engineered entire landscapes to shield their liquid treasure. Along the banks of canals, they planted long lines of trees, not just for fruit or timber, but to cast a continuous, cooling shadow over the water, dramatically slowing its disappearance. They built vast reservoirs, but instead of leaving them open to the elements, they constructed elegant arched roofs over them, creating cool, dark caverns where water could be stored for years without significant loss. One of the most elegant solutions was the use of porous clay pots, a method known as irrigation. A farmer would bury an unglazed clay pot next to a plant and fill it with water. The water would slowly seep through the pot's microscopic pores, delivering moisture directly to the roots exactly where it was needed. This subsurface delivery system was astoundingly efficient, eliminating evaporation and runoff entirely while encouraging deep, strong root growth. In some cultures, they even discovered that a paper-thin layer of oil spread across the surface of a storage basin could form a barrier that the water molecules could not easily cross, preserving vast quantities for the dry seasons ahead. These were not complex, energy-intensive technologies. They were simple, brilliant applications of basic physics, born from generations of careful observation. Every drop of water was a victory, and their commitment to conservation was absolute. What does it say about a society when its greatest innovations are designed not for consumption, but for preservation? This subsurface wisdom transformed the very relationship between water and the plant. When you pour water onto the surface of a field, much of it is immediately lost, stolen by the sun and wind before it can even reach the roots. But by burying the water source, these ancient farmers created a self-regulating system. An unglazed clay pot, an olla, buried up to its neck in the soil and filled with water, acts like an artificial root. The dry soil itself creates a suction force, pulling moisture through the pot's porous walls only when the surrounding earth is dry. When the soil is already damp from rain or dew, the seepage slows or stops entirely. This meant the plant received a perfect, continuous supply of moisture directly at its root zone with almost no waste. The benefits cascaded from this single, brilliant principle. Because the surface soil remained dry, weed seeds could not germinate, eliminating a major source of labor for farmers. More importantly, plants no longer developed shallow, sprawling root systems desperately searching for surface moisture. Instead, they sent their roots deep and strong toward the steady, subterranean source, creating more resilient and productive crops. This was not just irrigation, it was a dialogue with the soil, a patient method that worked with the physics of the earth itself to achieve a stunning level of efficiency. Can you see the quiet intelligence at play here? A system that asks the plant what it needs, rather than forcing water upon it from above. This same principle of direct delivery was scaled up in some Kanat systems, where tunnels would be engineered to release their water not into surface canals, but directly into the gravelly subsoil of entire fields. The water would then percolate upward through capillary action, feeding the roots from below while the surface remained a dry, protective crust. This ancient mastery of precision agriculture meant that every single drop of water was given a purpose, a targeted mission to sustain life, a philosophy of conservation that we are only now rediscovering in our modern era. The genius of these systems lies in their profound specificity. They were not universal blueprints carelessly copied from one land to another, but deeply localized innovations, each one a unique answer to a question posed by the earth itself. The form a water system took was a direct and intelligent response to the marriage of climate and geology in that particular place, where a civilization was blessed with access to vast, hidden mountain aquifers. The subtle genius of the Kanat and the Kerez was the perfect key. These subterranean rivers could only flourish where the geology provided a reliable water table and the soil was stable enough to tunnel through. But shift the landscape to the Indian subcontinent with its dramatic seasonal monsoons, and a different solution emerged. Here, the challenge was not finding a constant trickle, but capturing and storing an immense, sudden bounty. The stepwells and vast, open-air tanks were monumental sponges, designed to absorb the torrential rains of the wet season and hold that treasure securely for the long, dry months that followed. And in the limestone heartlands of the Maya, the very ground was a sieve, with rainwater vanishing instantly into the porous rock. Their survival depended on accessing the hidden reservoirs below. The cenotes were natural portals to this underworld, while the plaster-lined aguadas were human-made attempts to outsmart the thirsty earth, creating artificial pools where nature provided none. This incredible diversity proves a vital point. There was no single, superior technology imposed from on high. Instead, each civilization engaged in a continuous, deep dialogue with its environment. They listened to the whispers of the wind, learned the language of the rocks, and interpreted the patterns of the rain. Their solutions were not acts of domination, but of collaboration, bespoke designs that worked in elegant harmony with the forces of the natural world. They understood that to conquer the desert was not to defeat it, but to learn its secrets and build a life within its rules. Yet even the most resilient systems are not immune to the tides of history. The slow silence that fell upon these ancient waterways was rarely the result of a single catastrophe, but a cascade of interconnected pressures that unraveled the delicate balance they depended on. The first and most critical pressure was often social. The intricate networks of qanats and phallaj systems required a stable, cooperative society to function. When empires crumbled through invasion or internal conflict, the social contract that maintained the tunnels was often the first thing to break. The specialized knowledge of the mukani, passed down through generations, could be lost in a single era of turmoil. Without the organized communal labor to clear silt from the channels and repair tunnel collapses, the system would slowly choke. A single blocked ventilation shaft could lead to a tunnel collapse, and a single collapsed tunnel could mean the death of an entire oasis. This was a fragility born not of poor engineering, but of a reliance on a harmonious social order, a reminder that our greatest infrastructures are woven from both earth and human trust. Alongside political instability, the very climate these systems were designed to withstand could shift in unpredictable ways. Long-term droughts, far beyond the scope of a typical dry season, could cause the water table to retreat to depths the original mother wells could never reach. A qanat designed for a water table 50 meters deep is useless when that water sinks to 200 meters. The system's brilliant design became its limitation, fixed in a landscape that was no longer what it once was. Then came the final technological disruption. The arrival of modern, high-powered diesel pumps and deep well drilling offered a seductive shortcut. Why rely on a communal system that required constant upkeep when a single landowner could drill a deep borehole and draw water on demand? This shift represented a fundamental change in philosophy, from collective stewardship to individual extraction. The consequence was a hydrological tragedy. Unregulated pumping caused water tables to plummet at an unprecedented rate, draining the very aquifers that had fed the ancient tunnels for millennia. One by one, the qanats and phallaj systems ran dry, not from a lack of skill or will, but because the world above and below them had been fundamentally altered. The land itself tells the final chapter of this story. Fields that had been green for centuries slowly turned to dust, and the wind began to claim the gardens. The desertification of these once fertile lands stands as a stark monument to a profound truth, that the most advanced engineering is only a temporary guardian against the sands of time, if the society that built it forgets the wisdom of its own creation. The silent, dry channels of the past are beginning to whisper once more, and we are finally learning to listen. Across the globe, a quiet revolution is underway as hydrologists and archaeologists join forces with local communities to breathe life back into these ancient water networks. They are not simply restoring relics, they are decoding a lost language of sustainability, one that speaks to our most pressing modern crises. In the deserts of Iran, teams are clearing the silt from collapsed qanat tunnels, their work revealing the precise engineering that allowed a steady flow for millennia. In the Indian state of Rajasthan, long dry stepwells are being meticulously excavated, their intricate architecture serving as a masterclass in passive cooling and community water harvesting. Each cleared stone and reopened channel is a rediscovered piece of an old, powerful wisdom. This is not just an academic exercise, it is a practical response to a desperate need. In Oman, where modern wells have depleted aquifers, the restoration of the ancient phallaj systems has become a matter of survival for some villages. The returning flow does more than water fields. It revitalizes a social structure, reinstating the equitable water-sharing laws that prevented conflict and ensured no one was left without. The principles these systems embody are startlingly relevant. Think long-term, not in quarterly reports but in generations. Work with gravity and nature, not against them, using the land's own slope and the soil's natural filtration. Most importantly, prioritize community management, recognizing that a shared resource demands shared responsibility. Can our current model of individual extraction learn from this ancient model of collective stewardship? This ancient hydro wisdom offers a profound blueprint for a climate-changed future. It teaches us that resilience is not found in higher-powered pumps or more complex chemistry, but in elegant, low-energy designs that have been proven by time itself. The past does not hold all the answers, but it asks the right questions. How do we build systems that last for 2,000 years? How do we create water justice that flows as reliably as the stream itself? The rehabilitation of a single Kanat is more than an engineering project. It is a gesture of hope, a demonstration that the keys to a sustainable future were forged long ago in the patient hands of those who understood the desert's soul. The village of Aliabad had almost surrendered to the desert. For years, its single, ancient Kanat had lain choked with silt and silence, its lifeblood cut off by the lure of modern electric pumps that now drew from a rapidly vanishing aquifer. The land was turning to dust, and the community's spirit was fading with it. Then a remarkable partnership began. University hydrologists arrived with satellite maps and geological surveys, but they did not come with all the answers. They came seeking the wisdom of the village elders, whose ancestors had built the Kanat centuries before. Together, they pored over faded family notebooks and walked the line of the old ventilation shafts, reading the land like a shared historical text. The project became a fusion of memory and science. Young community volunteers worked alongside traditional masons, learning the ancient art of stabilizing tunnel walls with baked clay rings, a technique their own grandfathers had perfected. The work was difficult, descending into the dark, confined spaces to clear decades of debris by hand, basket by heavy basket. Yet with each cleared section, a palpable sense of anticipation grew. Then came the morning when a cheer erupted from the tunnel's mouth. A trickle of water, then a steady stream, began to flow from the long, dry channel. It was not just water returning, it was life itself. Within a single growing season, the transformation was breathtaking. Barren fields bloomed with wheat and pomegranates, their vivid green a stark contrast to the surrounding golden sands. With a reliable water source, land values stabilized and then climbed, giving families new economic security. But the most profound change was not measured in crop yields or monetary worth. It was seen in the community's restored sense of agency and cultural pride. The shared labor of restoration had rewoven the social fabric, reviving the old water-sharing laws and cooperative spirit that had once defined them. This was not a rejection of the modern world, but a powerful integration of ancient infrastructure with contemporary knowledge. The village of Aliabad did not just reclaim its water, it reclaimed its future by remembering its past. The silent, flowing wisdom of the desert holds profound answers for our parched present. Our modern water crises, defined by over-pumped aquifers and energy-intensive treatment plants, mirror the very challenges these ancient civilizations mastered with elegant simplicity. Their legacy offers us a powerful toolkit, not of specific blueprints, but of timeless principles we can adapt for a new era. The first principle is the power of gravity. We spend enormous amounts of electricity to pump water across vast distances, fighting the natural lay of the land. Ancient engineers would have seen this as a profound waste. By redesigning our urban landscapes to use gravity-fed systems for non-potable uses like irrigation and toilet flushing, we could drastically cut energy consumption, making our cities more resilient during power outages. The second principle is decentralized community-scale management. Our current model often relies on massive, centralized infrastructure that is vulnerable to single points of failure. The Kanat and the Falaj teach us that resilience is found in smaller, interconnected networks managed by those who depend on them most directly. Imagine neighborhoods with their own local rainwater harvesting and greywater recycling systems, creating a web of water security that strengthens the entire community. This approach fosters a sense of shared ownership and responsibility that is often lost in our anonymous, utility-based systems. The third principle is the sacred art of harvesting every drop. Modern cities are largely sealed with concrete and asphalt, designed to shed rainfall as quickly as possible into storm drains. This creates flooding downstream and wastes a precious resource. We must relearn to design our landscapes as sponges, not slides. This means creating green roofs that absorb rain, planting swales that slow runoff and allow it to seep into the ground, and replacing ornamental lawns with permeable surfaces that recharge the very aquifers we are depleting. The ancient focus on storage and evaporation control is equally critical. In arid regions, open reservoirs lose staggering amounts of water to the sun. By covering them or building underground storage tanks, we protect our reserves just as the Nabateans did with their plaster-lined cisterns. The path forward is not a rejection of technology, but an intelligent fusion. We can use satellite data to identify optimal sites for groundwater recharge, and we can employ smart sensors to manage these revived, gravity-based networks with precision. This is not about going backward, but about moving forward with the wisdom of the masters guiding our hands. The most sustainable hydraulic paradigm for the coming century may well be one that remembers the value of a community gathering at a flowing fountain, the intelligence of a buried clay pot, and the quiet, relentless power of a river that flows uphill only in its intention to serve. From the hidden rivers of the Qanats to the sacred depths of the Stepwells, these advanced water systems stand as a timeless monument to human ingenuity. They were far more than just feats of engineering. They were profound expressions of a culture's relationship with the world. The true lesson they offer us is that sustainability is not merely a technical puzzle to be solved with better pumps or purer chemicals. It is a deeply social endeavor, rooted in the unbreakable bonds of community and the fair sharing of a common trust. It is a spiritual undertaking, requiring a reverence for the natural forces that provide for us and a humility to work within their rhythms. These ancient visionaries understood that a system's endurance was measured not in decades, but in centuries, a perspective that challenges our own short-term thinking. They did not seek to conquer the harsh desert landscape, to bend it to an unyielding will. Instead, they learned its subtle language, they listened to its secrets, and they chose to dance with it. They created a beautiful, life-sustaining harmony between human necessity and environmental reality, a partnership that flourished for thousands of years. As we now navigate our own complex challenges with water and a changing climate, their legacy provides a powerful compass. It guides us toward a future where our solutions can be not only technologically brilliant, but also deeply wise, fundamentally equitable, and truly built to last. We would love to hear which of these ancient water marvels amazed you the most. Share your thoughts in the comments below.